So, hi everyone. It's really good to see you tonight. Now, I haven't got many faces, but so the first thing that I wanted to say was a massive welcome. And then for those of you that were expecting me and Beck tonight, I was one of those. I was amongst the people who was expecting it to be me and Beck tonight, but unfortunately, during the night, last night, Beck's nan died. And so Beck and Lou have had to dash up to Coventry to be with their mum and their family. It's from the other side of the family, not my side of the family. So they've had to rush up to sort everything out there. So at the very last minute, Beck disappeared. So she's not here, so you've only got me. So she's written me a few notes that I've got on my wall there to make sure I say everything that I'm supposed to say. Because she's normally in the background, and if I forget something, I say, Beck, what am I supposed to say next? So with her not being here tonight, yes, she's written me a few notes, so I remember to say everything I'm supposed to say. So that was a little bit sad and a little bit unfortunate, but it's kind of one of those things that shows us that life has a habit of doing what life does. You know, no matter what plans we've made, no matter what ideas we've got, no matter how we think life should go, life tends to do what life does. And this understanding that we're pointing to kind of shows us that even in moments like this, there's an okayness about it. So anyway, so that's where Beck is tonight. So this evening, I don't know whether you've noticed that there's an awful lot of changes been going on, like talking about life doing life. There's been an awful lot of changes going on around here because Julie's husband became very, very ill, and it became a little bit difficult for Julie to work with us as much as she would have liked and as much as we would have liked, because she had to go and look after him. So Julie isn't around half as much as she used to be. And then Lucy decided that she really, really, really likes the idea of being face to face with people a lot more than she is at the moment. So she's looking into a new venture, which we will be sharing what she's getting up to once she's moved along a little bit further than that, but that's really, really exciting. So a lot of the stuff here at Dare to Be You has been down a lot more down to me and Beck. So me and Beck have been doing a lot of things. We've been been up to lots of really exciting things with all the Dare to Be You stuff. And oh, hang on, we've got somebody. So yeah, me and Beck have been doing a lot of that side of things, which has been really interesting. It's been really nice, and we've been having an awful lot of fun. But it's really interesting to see how life changes things for you. Even when you don't have plans for things to change, life changes things for you. We're in a perpetual state of change. You know, even when we think we're staying the same, things are going on in the background and changes are happening. And then my daughter had a little boy 7 weeks ago, and he is great. He's absolutely beautiful. It's absolutely wonderful being around a tiny new baby, but she has had a lot of problems and been struggling, bless her. She's really been struggling with all sorts of things, you know, new baby things, nothing serious, but she has ended up in hospital a couple of times. And yeah, that's been a little bit of a trial. So these are the kinds of things for me when we see that with the best will in the world, and no matter, you know, what it is we want, life does life. And what I really, really love about this understanding that we're sharing is, in spite of life doing life, in spite of what happens to us day by day, in spite of what's happening moment to moment, there is an okayness about us. There is something more to us than meets the eye. And it's only when we forget that, when we get out of balance and we forget that we get into trouble. So it's good to remember. So I'm going to start by sharing with you a little bit about what it is me and Beck have been up to, and then I'm going to open up for questions. And I've got some people have sent in some questions, so I've got a list of some of the questions. So if people here have got questions, please feel free. You can either unmute and ask the questions, you know, when the time comes, or you can type them. I think there's a comments box. Yeah, you can type them in the comments box if any questions. And, you know, as we're going along, if anything I'm talking about, if you've got any questions, please feel free to ask. It's nice if this becomes a bit of a discussion. But I have a couple of people sent me questions. There was some people who knew they couldn't be here, so they've got questions, so they sent them. So if no other questions come in, we'll answer them. So, and then there's something that me and Beck have been plotting and doing, something we're going to get up to, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about that as well. So the first thing I'm going to start telling you about is that me and Beck decided that we like the idea of things being simple and life being fun. Yeah, life's much better when it's fun. And what we've noticed looking in this direction is how complicated, when we get into conversations with people, it's really easy to see sometimes how complicated human beings can make things. And it's really, really good to kind of bring it back to simplicity, to look at what it is that the principles or any spiritual understanding that we're being pointed towards, anything, you know, how simple it is, and bring it back to something really simple. And as I said, we like having fun. So we were playing around with words the other day, and I know I have shown some of you this, but I don't know whether on my screen that's backwards. So I don't know if that's, when I'm looking at it in the picture, I don't know whether you're seeing that backwards. So if you are, I apologize. Hopefully it's just my screen and you can see it the right way around. So this is what me and Beck were playing around with the other day. We were talking about freedom, because we really like how much freedom we have since Beck and Lou moved down here. And we decided to kind of go all in and wholeheartedly put everything that we have into this business. We've seen how much more freedom we have in our life, and it's really fun. So we talk a lot about having fun, and I'm sure when you watch our Facebook lives, when you watch what we get up to, when you see us out and about, that isn't a front that we put on. That is genuinely who we are. It's genuinely what we do. We absolutely love having fun. Oh, thank you, Jane. She said it is the right way around. That's good. It's just when I'm looking at it on my screen, it's back to front. So it's good to know that you're seeing it the right way around. And I'm trying to read it in the screen and I can't, because I'm not very good at reading backwards. So you'll have to bear with me on that one too. And so we did a few Facebook Lives around this, talking about what we'd seen around all these different things. And the one of them that we got the most questions around was the one serve. And because obviously having fun is, well, we all know what it means to have fun, don't we? And being creative, I absolutely love being creative. For those of you that know me, you might know that I'm a bit of a seamstress, a bit of a sewer. I absolutely love getting my sewing machine out and, you know, making something. I love cooking, I love baking cakes. Not saying I'm very good at it, but I really enjoy it. Yeah, and just generally, the work that I do, like this kind of things, I love creating conversations, I love creating groups, I love being around people, I love being creative. And yeah, we did a Facebook Live and we talked about love, and we talked about what is it that stops us feeling the love that's all around us. Because that was something when me and Beck were messing around with this was kind of something we came up with. It. What is it that stops us being creative and stops us having fun and stops us, you know, doing all the things that we love to do? And obviously for us, what we saw was that it's our own mind that gets in the way. It's the thinking that we have that we believe to be true that gets in our way. And as we were saying about simplicity, you know, bringing things back to simplicity, that's how simple it is. That it's the thoughts that we have that land in our minds that appear to be really real and true, that we get caught in, and they stop us doing the things out in the world that we want to do. The Dare to Be You one, Dare to Be You. Obviously, those of you that know me very well and know what I talk about a lot, that was that was something that I didn't do for a very long time. I didn't dare to be me. I didn't dare to show up as me. I was absolutely stuck in a place of people pleasing, trying to make other people happy so that I was okay. I totally missed that my okayness was something that I had inside me. I just didn't see that. And it looked incredibly difficult for me to be myself around other people, because I was really, really caught up and really worried what would happen if people didn't like me. And that is definitely, I can feel, when I get into a bad place, when I get upset or feel hurt, or I'm not in a great headspace, that's definitely somewhere that I can watch myself go. I can turn into a people pleaser. And what I really, really love about this journey that we're on, this, looking in the direction of knowing more about the truth of who we are. What I love about that is that changes all the time. Literally in this last week, I have watched myself have more insights and realizations with people I've been around. We had a huge family party over the weekend. It was my brother's 60th birthday, and everybody came here to our farmhouse, and we had a huge barbecue. We had a bouncy castle in the back garden. We painted a football pitch on the lawn, and we had a football tournament, and we had a really, really lovely time, with all the family there. But I'm sure most of you can identify when you've got a family like that. When families come together, there's always things, you've got history, you've known each other for a long time, and things have been said and things have happened, and it's really easy, when you get together like that, for in between all the really loveliness and the fun that you have, these little niggly things. And I noticed over the weekend when I was around, a lot of my family, I saw again that I'd had more insights in this direction. And I actually, a lot of things that I'd held, beliefs I'd held about family members, beliefs that I'd held about those people, I saw how they were coming from me in that moment. And those things might be small, but they're absolutely life-changing when you stand there in that moment and you kind of go, oh, I've always thought, when somebody starts to say something in those circumstances, it's kind of like that, oh, there they go again, being annoying or saying that on purpose, or they always do that to me. That was me anyway. That was kind of what I was like. oh gosh, they always have to say that. They always have to bring that up, or they always have to be like that. And I suddenly saw over the weekend that was me. I suddenly saw it completely differently, and that again led to a lot more freedom, led to me having a much lighter, much more fun weekend, much more fun time. So it's really, I love that these insights, and we never stop changing, we never stop seeing something more, we never stop learning more from moment to moment. That's definitely been my experience anyway. It's an ongoing thing, and you never know when you're going to have an insight and something is just going to change completely for you. It's just brilliant. So the other ones were be bold and commit. And these definitely, I know some of you on here are on the Warrior's Journey that we're doing, and this if there's anyone here who doesn't know about the Warrior's Journey, it's something, a daily thing that we're doing for 90 days. You get an email every single day pointing in this direction, you know, sharing something about this understanding, sharing something about the truth of who we are, pointing in this direction. And the emails every day are slightly different, and we have some challenges thrown in there. We have some invitations to do things. And I absolutely love doing the Warrior's Journey. I write the emails and I read them. Because I just love getting into the spirit of that. I love being reminded and pointing in this direction every single day. Personally, I find that incredibly helpful. And one of the things that came for me, what I noticed about myself when we started the Warrior's Journey again this time, was how much, for me, it's almost like another persona, almost, if you like. You know, it's kind of like, oh yeah, Warrior Deb can do this, that's fine. If there's you know, something that needs to be done that would be a little bit like, oh gosh, I don't know whether I want to do that, it's like, yeah, but a warrior can do it. So it's given me it's kind of leapfrogged a lot of thinking that I had about myself, and, you know, the idea that I couldn't do things. It's really interesting to see that, you know, while I'm being a warrior, it's like, yeah, but a warrior can do that. And it kind of cancels out the thinking that I'm believing to be true in the moment. And it's like, yeah, just do it because you're a warrior. So definitely for me, it's been about being bold and stepping out even more than I do anyway. So that's been really, really fun. And then the commitment. I love the idea of making a commitment. For me personally, like writing the emails every day, writing the warrior emails, that is a huge commitment. And I don't think I realise this is the second time that I've done the Warrior's Journey, and the first time I did it, and the emails are all completely new. There's nothing like what I wrote the first time. Each one, and if you're on the Warrior's Journey, I'm guessing you know, like, I will be writing tonight. The email that you will get in the morning, I will be writing it this evening. So the emails are written and sent, and that was part of the commitment for me. It's kind of, it's of the moment, and it's in the moment. It's what's occurring right now, because that's what I love about this understanding. I love how it appears moment to moment like that. And so my commitment when I decided to do the Warrior's Journey again, excuse me a minute. That went down the wrong way. Yeah, so my commitment when I decided to do that was to write an email every day. And with life, the way that life does life, the way that life unfolds with, you know, family parties and illnesses and daughters with new babies and cars that do things that cars do, you know, everything that goes on in life, it's a fair commitment to say that you're going to write an email every day. And for me personally, I find that making a commitment like that is really good for me. Now, that's not to say that that is a type of commitment everyone should make, and that's not to say that making commitments like that in general are good. I have just noticed that is one of the things that I love about looking in this direction, is getting to know yourself, getting to know what is useful for you, what is helpful for you. And that has been one of the biggest things, because as a people pleaser, I'm sure you can understand, if somebody told me, you know, that something was a certain way, that making a certain type of commitment was a good thing, then I'm there going, oh right, okay, that's the kind of commitment I've got to make. Even if that commitment didn't make sense to me, didn't suit me, wasn't helpful for me, I kind of took my cue from other people. So one of the biggest things that has been hugely helpful for me in looking towards this understanding is actually almost like the permission to get to know me, the permission to find out what works for me and what is helpful for me. So that's been huge. And then make commitments and do things that are helpful to me. Yeah, that's made a huge difference. So the one I'll go back to, the one that I started to say, then we went through all the others, was serve. Okay, so I had one lady when we held this up and we talked about it, and we said, have fun, serve, be creative, love, dare to be you, be bold, commit. She was like, serve? Yeah, I'm not sure I like the idea of that. But what I've come to see around this understanding is that when we decide to be in service to what serves, everybody benefits. This isn't, it is a difficult one to put into words sometimes, but being in service, I've noticed how much I benefit when I serve other people. And as a people pleaser, as I've said, we're not talking about that. We're talking about something completely different. We're talking about coming from a place of doing something for the benefit of somebody else because you can, because it is a nice thing to do. And I can't tell you how lovely it is to do that, how really nice it is to do that, to just be in service to other people. And it's one of those things that when you talk about it, it's kind of like, definitely you get things back from doing that, because the system that we've been born into, this life, the way that life works, and this system that we've been born into, you cannot help be rewarded, but be rewarded when the reward is actually built into it. When you genuinely from your heart serve someone else, you feel good. The feeling is there. There's nothing else that you need. And I think one of the ones that's easy to get caught in here through a few conversations I've had with people that I've noticed is that as human beings, what we tend to do is we see that, and then we get into a place and we serve to get something back. We actually fall out of that good place of balance, and we actually do things sometimes without even realizing we are, to get something back, and that isn't the same. So being in service, anything that you get back from it is actually built into what you do. If the person doesn't even know about it, if the person doesn't acknowledge it or ever know that you did it, then that's being in service. That doesn't matter. It's built in to the act of serving. And I'm sure that you've all had an experience of that. I'm sure that there's no one here who doesn't know what I'm talking about, that it's just really lovely to do something kind just because you can. It's really, really rewarding. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, I would recommend it, but I am sure you all do. And I'm also sure, I know it's very, how easy it is to fall out of that place and do something and expect something back from someone. That can be an easy trap to fall into. Hey, we're human. I do it. And I like to be reminded about what being in service is. So that's a little bit about that. So that's what me and Beck have been messing around with. It's what we've been talking about, what we've been looking at, this simplifying stuff down and talking about freedom and our little words that we write across freedom. Oh, okay then. So next, it's time for us to have some questions. So if anyone on here has got a question at all, you feel free to unmute yourself or raise your hand or write in the chat box. And if nobody on here has actually got any questions, then, Oh, hi, Gavin. No, yeah, if you put your face on here, it will come up if I put it on YouTube. Yes. So if you don't want your face to be on YouTube, just have your name. That's fine. I don't mind speaking to a lot of names. I'm good. I can talk a lot. It's fine. So thanks, Gavin. That's absolutely fine. No worries. So if anyone has got a question, as I say, please feel free to unmute yourself and speak, or you can put, I think there is a thing on here where you can put your hand up, and yeah, so you can unmute yourself right in the chat box, put your hand up. No problem, Gavin. And if not, if no one has got any questions on here live, then I will have a look at some of the questions. Okay. If anyone wants to jump in at any time, honestly, please feel free. It's absolutely fine. But I have got a couple of questions here. If you're all a quiet bunch, that's fine. So somebody said that me and Beck over the last few weeks, we've been talking about simple spirituality. As I said, because we absolutely love keeping things really, really simple. And that is just the words that we've been using and the way we've been talking about it. And obviously, I also talk about the 3 principles. And there's been an awful lot on Facebook and on YouTube and everything just lately, all about non-duality. And I've been having quite a few people kind of ask me about non-duality and the 3 principles. And then, you know, I say simple spirituality, you know, what are all these things, and what does that mean? And so to me, it looks like all spiritual understandings, no matter what you call them, whether it's non-duality, whether it's the 3 principles, whether it's simple spirituality, and anything anyone else talks about, everybody is pointing towards the same thing. There isn't 2 types of deeper meaning to who you are. There isn't more than one truth. Ultimate truth that we're trying to point to here is there's only one, and it's the same, and it's the same for everyone, and it's always the same. And that is all we're pointing towards. And the problem with pointing towards these kinds of things is that we have mostly words to do that. You know, we have conversations to try and point people towards that. And words are quite clumsy when we're trying to talk about matters of the heart and deeper things, about deeper truths about who human beings are, you know, underneath the bit that we all see so clearly. And but there is a way that when we come together and when we have these conversations, there's something that happens in, you know, I know a lot of the time when we get onto the Lovely People webinars and when we get into conversations like this, when we begin to talk about what it is we're pointing towards, something happens inside us and we slow down a little bit and calm down. And whether we know it or not, and whether we can put words on it or not, we get a feeling, we kind of feel something about ourselves. And then we try and put it into words. And when different people speak about it, we tend to use different words. And sometimes the words that other people use might not make sense to you. And it can sound as if they're talking about something completely different. I know when I first came across this understanding, a lot of people used to talk about the feeling of coming home. And that, for whatever reason, I don't know, didn't resonate with me and didn't make any sense to me. And I was kind of looking for this feeling, and they're not words that resonate or make. I understand it on an intellectual level, as you say, but it doesn't resonate with me. It doesn't kind of make me feel warm and fuzzy. It doesn't do anything for me. So those aren't my words. They wouldn't particularly be words that I would use. And it's the same for me in any of these things. If something makes sense to you, then listen to it and go with that. You know, trust yourself. One of the biggest things that I would say to anybody looking in this direction is get to know you. Look inside you for your own answers. It's really, really helpful sometimes to be pointed in that direction. I can't thank the people who pointed me in this direction enough. You know, pointing me inwards, bringing me back to this moment and pointing me inwards it's the best thing that's ever happened to me. But different people will do that in different ways, and they will use different words. And I think the minute someone kind of says that they're right and you're wrong, then I would take a little bit of a breath and give them a minute, and give yourself a minute, and learn something about yourself and trust yourself. And as we've kind of seen with words here, somebody, you know, around non-duality or those kinds of things, you know, somebody might say that, you know, when you even using words like get to know yourself, you know, it'll be kind of like, well, there is no self, so how can I get to know myself? And getting to know myself is a mistake, because I'm making more of this self who I am, so that isn't the direction I want to go in. And again, what I would do is take a breath and just stop. It feels to me like I exist. Since I've been looking in this direction, I have had glimpses and seen the truth of the oneness of humanity. There's no doubt in me about that, no doubt whatsoever. And it's incredibly helpful for me to know that truth on the level that I know it. Moment to moment when I live my life, I don't have an experience of not being me sat here in front of this computer. And so I find it incredibly helpful to talk about my life in terms of me and do things out in the world in terms of me, whilst looking to understand the deeper truth of who I am. And it doesn't look to me, if I discard the fact that I absolutely feel like a human being sat here in front of this computer, if I discard that and pretend that that isn't true for me, I don't think that's helpful at all. And equally, if I discard the fact that there's something deeper about me, if I discard the fact that there's something spiritual about me, I don't find that helpful. That was the place that I went to when I was struggling and suffering in my life. So it's very much about finding this balance and getting to know something about you. So I want to take a minute and have a look at the questions and see if anyone else, you know, if anything else has been said, because I haven't got Beck here checking the questions for me, and I'm aware sometimes I get a little bit excited and talk a little bit too much, so I do apologise. So Gavin says, the in-service thing is interesting. I think because society is honoured towards only doing things for money, although I totally agree with what you're saying, I too feel that I would be in life to serve my fellow human beings without thinking of getting any return. Yeah, it's an interesting thing to play with. And, you know, there's nothing wrong. We all have to earn money. We all have to do things. And I'm not saying everything should always be done for nothing, but there is absolutely a time and a place to do that. And it's absolutely beautiful to be in service to somebody. So thanks, Gavin. So Jane, I really like the thing about serving, though sometimes I get confused between when I am doing that and people pleasing. Any thoughts? Also, I love it that when you remind us that truth is the same for everyone, we're all talking about the same thing. Yeah, everybody is talking about the same thing, and we're all human, you know, and sometimes, well, we all have a human side, and sometimes we fall into that humanity, and sometimes it's really easy when you've had an insight or you've seen something to want somebody else to see what you have seen and want them to understand what it is you're pointing towards. So it's easy to get over enthusiastic and to try and pull people to see what you've seen and to forget. And I know that I am guilty of that, and to forget to point people towards themselves, because the things that are most helpful to people, I can see when I look back at insights and things that I've had, my insights have been incredibly helpful around things that have happened with my son, and things that have happened with my daughter, and things that have, when me and Lou and Beck all moved into this house together, and Russ and Josh, there was all sorts of things that went on, and the insights and the things that came to me wouldn't really have been particularly helpful to you living somewhere else with other people. What we see when we look in this direction, what I've noticed, is incredibly personally helpful in those moments. So although deeper truth is true and everybody is pointing in that direction, but it is, if someone had tried to make me see the whole coming home thing, it just wouldn't have made any sense to me. It just wouldn't have felt right. So if something doesn't feel right, it's probably, I'm sure, somewhere along the line you're seeing the same thing, but it just, words don't do it justice. And it's easy to be looking at exactly the same thing and describing it in a different way. Haven't we all done that? Oh, so the other thing, the people pleasing and the being in service. Do you know what I've seen around that? Again, that is more, I think our thinking is incredibly good at playing little tricks on us. I know my thinking, it's like a little kid. Over the weekend when we were here, when we had our big family party, we've got quite a few small children in our family, so there was a few of them, and they, what were they? There was a couple of 2-year-olds, and Owen's 7 or 8 maybe, and they're playing jokes and having a lot of fun. And my thinking reminds me of that. It's like a trickster and a joker. It tries to trip me up. And I think very often, my thinking I'm busy people pleasing, and my thinking's going, oh yeah, you're not people pleasing, this is fine, you're in service, you're not people pleasing. And what I've noticed over time, again, this invitation to get to know yourself better. And what I noticed about things like that was, very often afterwards, I would have this moment of thinking, yeah, I kind of knew that something was off then. I knew something wasn't quite right, but I couldn't hear my wisdom loud enough. I don't know. I don't know what the words are. There was something, I didn't know it quite enough. And it seems to me that the longer that I've been looking in this direction, the more that I've been seeing that. As I said, I had some huge insights over the weekend around family members, and it was just brilliant. Something huge fell away. And I've noticed the same has happened to me around the people pleasing thing. I do it less and less and less all the time, because it feels like the more that I get to know the truth of who I am, the more discerning I am around those things. The more I'm like, oh yeah, there's my thought doing that thing that it does, cheeky little monkey. I'm going to let it carry on, and I'm okay. I don't need to listen to it. I don't need to follow it. And it's incredibly freeing when we see that, when we see our thoughts as those little monkeys that they are, and that we don't need to follow it if we don't want to. We don't need to listen. So yeah, I can see that people pleasing for me has got less and less and less, and I'm way more aware when I'm doing it and when I'm not these days. Oh, sorry, Gavin, it's difficult to type and listen. Sorry. Well, there will be a replay, so you can listen again. That's the best I can do. And you're very welcome to unmute yourself and talk to me. I'm happy. I will stop for a minute if somebody wants to join in. Yeah, it's Jane pretending to be Dan. So Gavin said, when you notice, you could think, oh, there's that possible people-pleasing thought again. Yeah, thoughts, when you recognize them, when you begin to see, this is it, when you begin to see them for what they are, they can't stand up, you know, they can't stay in place. Once we start to see through our thinking to me reminds me of knitting. When my daughter was pregnant and I was knitting a little cardigan, I'm not a great knitter, and I was knitting a little cardigan for my grandson. I didn't know he was a grandson at the time. Every time I went wrong, you know, I would pull it and reams of it would just literally start to unpick. And I noticed that while the stitches were safely on the needle, the knitting was really strong and robust, you know. And now the cardigan's finished, it's really, you know, it's a really strong little cardi, nice and stretchy. But once you got a place and started to unpick it, it would just, you know, it would come undone so quickly. And I've seen that around my thinking too. It's almost like, once I start to pick at my thoughts and they start to go, they all kind of start to unpick. And then all of a sudden, a little bit like knitting, if you've ever done knitting, you'll see there's a place where there's something and it stops again. And it's like, oh yeah, that thought looks real and true to you. And the unpicking stops. But it is amazing how many thoughts just fall away if we start to pull at them. Thoughts can't stand up against interrogation at all. You know, if we question our thoughts and look at them, it's just sometimes our thinking. Two things I'll notice for me is sometimes it doesn't occur to me that it's thought, it just looks true. So one of the first things was actually noticing that our realities are created by this power of thought, and kind of starting to see that and play around with that. And then it was like, oh yeah, however real it looks, there's something of, you know, thought is doing something there that's creating that. And then beginning to look at the thoughts and pick at them a little bit. And as I said, a little bit like knitting, once you get them started, they're done. They can't stand up to it. Yeah, so Gavin said our insights are tailored for our personal consumption. That's why they often don't make sense for others. Yeah, this is so true. You know, we can have an insight, something absolutely massive and huge can have shifted and changed for us. And when we try to explain the content of our insight to others, they go, well, yeah, I knew that, or I don't know what you're talking about. So yeah, insights aren't for other people, they are personal to us. They are so I don't think it's the content of our insights that's important. It's the fact that human beings are wired to have them, and we will always have them. And it's like they're not these kind of magical mystery things that are elusive and difficult to get hold of and difficult to have. You know, I have insights all the time, you know, all day long. Insights, just, it feels like, you know, suddenly I just know this, I know this. Every moment when we're living life, when we're doing something, when we're making a cup of tea, when we're doing anything, you know, that's an insight. Oh, time to have a cup of tea, time to go to the toilet, time to be on a webinar, time to do that. It's like that inspiration is coming through us all the time. And the more that we are open to the possibility of that, and we don't see those things, insights are really, really ordinary. Like, you know, everything that is magical and everything that we're looking towards is incredibly ordinary as well. There's nothing that isn't available to absolutely everyone in what we're talking about, and easily available. And one of the things that we do, it's kind of like, to me, it feels as if things like this are hidden in plain sight. And sometimes when we're trying to share with somebody else what it is we've seen, it can be a little bit difficult to get it across, because it's so clear what we've seen that it's difficult you don't know how to say it in a different way so that somebody can see what it is you're pointing towards. And I'm sure you've all had that experience when you're trying to share something with somebody and they're not understanding what it is you've said, and it can sometimes be two people can come together and communication can sometimes be difficult. And what I really, really love in those moments is silence and love, because there is just something amazing and magical that gets transmitted when we just fall into that place of peace. When we get into frustration and when we get into a place of, you have to know this, you have to see this, you have to get this, I think it revs our mind up somehow. And when our minds get revved up, when we get two people together or more than two people together and their minds start to get revved up, that gets in the way of seeing this deeper truth of who we are. And yet somehow when you come together and we calm our minds down, when we sit in a place and it's perfectly okay whether you see it or whether you don't, on both sides it's perfectly okay, because what we're pointing towards is a deeper okayness about you that is always there, and you have always got that. And somehow just being with somebody who truly knows that has a calming effect. And as we begin to calm down, these insights or whatever it is you want to call them, we begin to see things for ourselves. And there is never anything more powerful than when you see something for yourself. And that is, it's life-changing for you. And every tiny little bit of life-changing something that happens to you changes the whole world. The paradox of what we are sharing here, I absolutely love the paradox of what it is we're talking about. We're talking about individuals who are absolutely one. We're talking about inviting you to go out and live your life as if you have control, while absolutely knowing that you don't. And sometimes it can be really, really difficult for us when we get into our intellectual minds, and when we try to work that out, it can be really confusing. And yet, if we just sit quietly with that, somehow it filters down into us, and somehow we can see the absolute sense and the absolute truth that we are both the most powerful, amazing creatures and as insignificant as a grain of sand. And both of those things are true in any given moment about all of us. And for me, it feels like for most of my life, I had it backwards when it was I needed to realize I was as insignificant as a grain of sand, and when it was I needed to show up as incredibly important and powerful. And it feels like I just had that the wrong way around for so long. It would turn up like I would just be this insignificant nothing, when that wasn't my role. And then I would try to be something, important when that wasn't my role. And it feels like being pointed towards a deeper truth of who I am means that a little part of me some of the times has corrected that, and just the tiniest little correction in that direction, seeing absolutely when it's time for me to bow in reverence to a grain of sand, and when it's time for me to step up to life, and live with courage and boldness and serve and have fun and do all of those things. Just turning it around the tiniest little bit has been life-changing. And it's been life-changing for me, like we talked about insights earlier and how personal they are. And for me, the areas that I was struggling in the most, I was struggling around I struggled with life, and then I particularly struggled with relationships and around money. And the insights for me are still coming thick and fast in those areas. You know, every day I feel lighter and freer in those areas. So hang on, what's yeah, exactly, Gavin. So Gavin says, maybe insignificant, nothing. However, you are a unique individual, and that's important too. And this is the paradox, isn't it? That we're kind of, and that's what I was exactly what I was pointing to. Yeah, we're both of those things simultaneously. We're not just a spiritual being or just a human being, and we're not. We have to take into account both of those things. You know, we have to, or it seems to me the best way for us to have the best experience of being human is to know that, and to equally take those two things. We are unique, we are one. You know, there isn't more than one of us here, and yet we are unique individuals. And it is that paradox that it's kind of like, how can those two things be true at the same time? And yet they are. And it's somehow, when we get quiet and when we're pointed in this direction, something begins to make sense, something clicks within us. And then our ordinary, normal, everyday life, you know, those family moments when we have huge weekends, and then when we're called away because there's a death in the family, when, you know, our children become poorly, when anything that happens in life, somehow, when we are standing on the foundation of this understanding, something clicks for us, and we see that there is a deeper okayness about us. And no matter what it is that's going on, we have this, there's something within us that moves us forward, and we do amazing things. Human beings are absolutely amazing. So I'll just check to see. Oh, there we go. Yeah, I've been trying to run my singing groups intuitively, and it usually works out well. No planning, just letting each song I am meant to share pop up next. I suppose that's a bit like a string of insights when you work in that way. I haven't really thought of it as insights, but I suppose it is in a way. If I try to stick to the list of songs, it doesn't work so well. Yeah, this is it. It's kind of, again, this goes to words, doesn't it? We kind of hear a word like insight, and then it's really easy to make it into something that we don't have, or, you know, or we don't notice that it is something we're doing already, something that's already happening in our life. And for me, you know, the deeper I go into this understanding, and again, the invitation to keep looking is to look again at what you might be missing in those sorts of ways. And they might be little, but it's amazing how huge chunks of things can fall away for us when we see through something that we just didn't see, because we had got it set up that, you know, just intuitively singing our songs one after another wasn't anything to do with insight. And again, it's like, I love the idea of inviting people to get curious, to look in this direction, to bring yourself back to this moment and look inside you right now. And again, all of those words, what meanings do they have for you? I don't quite know how to put words on this, but I've kind of been seeing this thing. It's like, it's the bit of floor that you're absolutely standing on. It's like you need to pull the rug out from underneath the feet that you're standing on, because that's the bit that you've missed. It's a little bit like when we criticize someone else. And this is just an example, you know, sometimes we can kind of be talking about someone, go, oh, you know, that person's not a nice person. They talk about people behind their back. And it's like, yeah, that's what you're doing right now. And we miss that. We don't see that. And it's that. And how do you explain that to somebody? It's that bit that you've missed by accident. Somehow you haven't realized you're doing it. You haven't realized it's there. Also, oh, I think she's popped off, hasn't she? Thanks, Jane. She did say she would have to leave a little bit earlier, so that was fine. Yeah, it's we miss the bit of ground we're standing on. And I'm sure I'm going to get better words around that to try and say, but it's like when we get curious about ourselves, it's so easy to miss something. And it's kind of, look again, look where you haven't looked, see what you haven't seen. How do you put words on that? How do you kind of point somebody to? And it's crazy because when you're listening and when you're in that place, it's like, how do I hear what I haven't heard? How do I look where I haven't looked? How do I do that? And a how question isn't massively useful. But again, it's take a breath and get quiet, because there is something within you that knows. There is something within you guiding you and taking you in this direction. And whatever it is that is personal for us, that's what we get insights around. You know, when I used to do a lot of sewing, I would have amazing intuitive ideas about things to create with my sewing. They would just come to me in the night. And it was hugely useful for me that I'd had that, because I saw around this understanding. It's the same if we're looking in a direction. You know, if you're here on this call and if you are looking in this direction, if you get curious, things will come to you. And they will come to you again. It's kind of like, it's very easy to then be kind of like, okay, when's it going to come? When's it going to come? And be patient. Have fun, get out in life and play and do things, and you will start to see how life begins to meet you, how life begins to, it's like when you look for something, as soon as you start to look for something, it's running towards you. You begin to notice that. There's magic in this understanding. So I better check my board in case Beck listens to this. So I think I've waffled on for quite a while, and yeah, there's been a few things. There's nothing else put in the chat here. There was a few more questions, but I think we're kind of almost out of time, and I didn't want to keep you guys too late. So the thing that me and Beck wanted to talk to you about as well at the end of this call was, we are doing something with our pretty board here, this thing that we've talked about, freedom. We are actually going to be running a course through June, assuming everything that's going on starts to calm down a little bit. We're going to be running a course through June all around freedom. Okay, we're going to be looking in this direction, and we're going to be having a lot of fun, because that's what we do best. And we're going to do it. It's going to be over 3 months, and we talked about it. And what we have found with people, we've been working a lot with people. I've been doing mentoring with different people and one-to-one coaching with people, and I've been doing some group work. And what we decided was to do this one with the best of both worlds, because I think when you do one-to-one stuff, I absolutely love working one-to-one with people. It's really great. I love having that interaction one-to-one with people. Also, I see that when we get together in a group and you get more than one person having input, it almost becomes like a mastermind. It becomes more of the sum of its parts, and it's absolutely great when you get a group of people together. So we decided that we would run this as some group work and some one-to-one stuff. So that's how we're going to do it, and it's going to be over 3 months. Better make sure that I say everything I'm supposed to say. There's also going to be a 2-day workshop in the middle there, that if you live close enough, or even if you don't live close enough, you can travel, but it's an in-person 2-day workshop. If you can't make the workshop, then that's going to be live streamed. We're going to do that so that, and you will get the recordings. And we've also made 7 videos, 7 core content videos, talking about having fun, serving, being creative, talking about love, talking about daring to be you, being bold and making a commitment, and all the things that we've seen around those. So those videos are part of the group as well. And there'll be email support during the whole 3 months. And Oh, and we've got at least 3 surprises. So if you sign up for this, there's at least going to be at least 3 surprises that we're working on at the moment. I'm getting really excited. So there's going to be at least 3 surprises as well if you do that. Now, this is a paid program, and the full price of the paid program is £2,010 for the 3 months. But if you have been on this webinar tonight, then you can have a discount off for that. So that will be £1,760, yeah, for being on this webinar price. This is Beck's bit. I'm not good with numbers. And we do have payment plans as well, if anyone is interested in a payment plan. And what we want to do over the next few weeks is, off the back of this webinar, we want to do something called help calls. So if you are at all interested in what we've talked about tonight, and at all interested in being a part of this 3-month program, and it's not going to be for lots of people, but if you're at all interested, we're going to do, over the next few weeks, we're going to do some help calls. So you can get on a call with us, with me or Beck, and if there's anything that you want to bring to the call, we'll have a chat with you for half an hour. And if you've got a problem or anything you want to bring, you can bring it to that call. We'll have a little bit of a chat. And if you're at all interested, if you want to know anything else about this program, you can ask us during that call. Now, you absolutely don't have to do that. I am completely okay with whether you want to do that or not, and I'm more than happy. I'm going to put the link to get on one of those help calls with us. I'm going to put it out tomorrow with this video. If you're on our mailing list, I'll send it out to you then, and you are more than welcome. We want people to come on these help calls anyway, because the thing that I love doing these webinars, I love doing the help calls, I love doing those kinds of things. And one of the things that I noticed for myself personally was, for a long time, I did these kinds of things, and then I never made offers for anyone else to work with me in any different ways. I just never did it, and it never happened, and I didn't have a thriving business. And then I started to make these offers, and we have an amazing business, we have an amazing life, and we have an amazing business. And I am more than happy to make these offers, and I am more than happy for you to say yes or no to any offer that I ever make. And that's the fun in it. I used to be absolutely terrified about that kind of thing, and kind of think, no, you can't say this and you can't do this, but turns out you can. Turns out it's perfectly okay. And it turns out sometimes some people are sitting there and actually waiting for you to give them away, to find out more and to know more. And if you are brilliant, and if you're not brilliant, and if you've got what you want from this free webinar, fabulous, absolutely love it. So that's our offer for this evening. And was there anything else that I am supposed to do? So I would really, really, really love you to invite you to sign up for one of those help calls if you want to, because me and Beck absolutely love talking to people. As you probably know, I've managed to talk pretty much non-stop for over an hour. We're really good at it, and we are genuinely, truly interested in being in service to you, truly interested in helping you if we can, and truly interested in having a thriving business. So it's thank you, Colette. It's been lovely to have you here. Yeah, I've really enjoyed myself tonight. I absolutely love doing these webinars. So thank you everyone who is here. And as I said, I will be sending that out tomorrow. So I think I've done everything that is on the list that Beck made for me. So I hope that she's okay with everything that's going on with her. And it's been really, really great to see you all tonight. So thank you everybody for being here this evening. It's been really, really, really great fun. And I hope that we catch up again soon. So take care, have a great evening, and sign up for one of those calls, because it would be really lovely to have another chat with you. So thanks very much, and bye for now.